Okay, boys and girls, here is my car for the IROC class of Carrera bodies, which means we drive this class with Carrera standard bodies 1 to 24, like here the Lola, but we take out the original chassis and exchange it to a nuts and bolts chassis, like here. Give me a second, I'm trying to get this closer. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You can see here it is attached with a so-called 90 degrees holder, which is glued into the body and attached to the chassis with 4 screws. I'll just undo 2 screws because I already loosened the other 2 to show you what it's like on the inside. Okay. Okay. Just got a cable loose, but take care of that later on. So this is what the inside looks. You can see here we glue the holder, the 90 degrees holder, into the chassis, and the chassis and the body are connected with those 4 screws. The other 4 screws here in the middle are just to change the width that is needed, because if you've got a body that is smaller, you can change that here. So that's how it is attached to the chassis. Please forgive me, I've just undone the red cable at the guide, but that's what the chassis looks like from underneath. You can see here it is you can change the length, so to adjust it to the car that you want to put it into. And if we turn this around, yep, trying to get this as big as possible, you can see a so-called 90 degrees holder here that is actually adjustable in height here. So you've always got the best ground clearance, or minimum ground clearance, the same here on the rear where you have those 4 screws. Just trying to get the autofocus. Okay, give me a second. Yep, so you can adjust that in height so that the chassis plate here is always adjustable and to a minimum height. The minimum height is in the rules and it says 1 millimeter or 0.8 millimeters, so you can always adjust that in front and in the rear if you put a plate underneath it. Those plates look, for example, like this. This part here is elevated, this one is pre-adjusted to 0.9, so you just put it here, loosen those 4 screws, the chassis drops, and you just tighten it back, and then you've got, to the size of the wheels, the chassis lowered to 0.9 millimeters ground clearance. But back to the chassis, you can change the gear to whatever you like. In this case we use a standard Carrera motor. This is just an exchangeable one, so an aftermarket one, but it is basically the original Carrera standard motor, the 18D. We've got 4 slots here on the sides. This is where the screws go into. Okay, my light just fell over. Give me a sec. Okay, so those 4 screws go into those 4 slots, and this is what we call the edge, because this moves. So this is the wobble that you can actually adjust by changing the height of those T-caps here. So this way you can adjust the wobble. Usually here and here you could place a suspension, but the rules for this class say no suspension allowed, so we just fix it. And you see the whole thing is extendable just to put it into the right wheelbase for the body you would like to glue it into. So this is one nuts and bolt chassis that we use for one class. So this is to show you how we race our IROC classes, what we do. The first class, because we race 3 classes for one night, the first class here is Carrera bodies, Carrera LMP bodies that all drove the same time in Le Mans. That's why there is only or mainly Porsche 917, Ferrari 512, and the Lola T72C. As described, we exchanged the chassis, same tires, standard Carrera motor. And this is what it looks like then. The car is in action. And they're a real blast and fun to drive. And as described previously at Rahul's, with Rahul's conversation, those cars stay in lane, which means everyone has to drive every car. This is the second IROC race that we did. It is Ferrari 275 and Ferrari 250s, GTOs. Those are kit bodies on nuts and bolt chassis, same motor, same tires. And it works exactly the same system, which means cars stay in lane. Each driver has to drive each car. And after every driver has driven all 4 cars, there's a sum up. Let's look at one of the starts in one heat. Yes, this is on random, the start sequence, which means like in Formula 1. After all 5 red lights are on, it's on random before the race starts. Of course, there is a false start indication, which in our case would mean a 3 seconds delay. So the guy doing the false start will get power on his lane only 3 seconds after all the others. So those are the Ferraris from the second heat. And again, they were just great to drive. Very small tires, very slim tires, but great to drive. And the third race is a mixture of Carrera original bodies and kit bodies, which means the Ford GT40s are Fujimi kits, and the Corvette and the Cheetah are Carrera original bodies. Same chassis, same motor, same tires. And they were also really, really nice to drive. I tell you, I like this class most of all 3 classes raced that night. And those were the only ones with polyurethane tires. All the others had rubber tires. So let's have a look at the start. And now a little slow motion. Okay, this is nearly the end of my video. Hope you liked it. If you've got any question on our IROC races and how we set them up, just drop me a line. Don't forget to press the like button, and if you haven't already done, the subscribe button, please. Okay, boys and girls, thank you very much. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you liked it. See you around.